Welcome back to the next video in the series covering the economic collapse, America's Road to Economic Depression. As we've previously discussed, historians generally agree that there are 6 main causes of the Great Depression. In this video, we'll talk about the second of those causes, unchecked stock market speculation. Now, the word speculation means that a person or an organization makes a risky investment in the hope of making a quick, large profit. And the practice of speculation was widespread in the 1920s. Today, an example might be what I'm seeing all over social media, and that is that some people rushed out to purchase PlayStation 5s for cost, and they are now upcharging and trying to sell those for double the price across social media platforms. Those folks have made a risky investment by purchasing several PlayStation 5s, and they are trying to then turn around to make a quick profit by selling them for more than they paid. This may well work out for those speculators, or it could be that nobody pays for them and those folks are stuck with several PS5s when really they only need one. They don't even need one, they want one. So this is speculation. Now, in the beginning of the 1920s, many investors speculated on real estate, land. The migration of over 1 million people to Southern California after World War I prompted investors to buy massive tracts of land in the hope of selling it to housing developers for a high profit. The California real estate boom went bust in the mid-1920s when the amount of land for sale exceeded the demand for new housing. So as many investors abandoned California, they set their sights on Florida. So in 1925, the Florida real estate boom became a study in frenzied speculation and get-rich-quick schemes. Now, Florida's growing reputation as a vacation and retirement mecca spurred speculators to buy land at low prices and then sell it for a quick profit to builders of hotels and retirement homes. Often, however, speculators sold the land to other speculators who in turn sold it at even higher prices. Many of the land buyers were Northerners who bought the land sight unseen. That made scams and fraudulent practices inevitable. Some unsuspecting buyers in the North owned alligator-infested swampland, or they held, quote, beachfront property that was actually 6 feet underwater at high tide. Eventually, there were no more buyers, and the boom was followed by a crash. Landowners could not sell their land, and therefore they could not repay the bank loans that they had used to purchase the property. Now, another type of speculation that was prevalent in the 1920s was stock speculation. As the real estate market went belly up, speculators turned their forces to the stock market. As the 1920s progressed, traders at stock exchanges around the country, particularly the New York Stock Exchange on Wall Street, whipped themselves into a virtual feeding frenzy of buying and selling. Investors believed that the stock market would go up indefinitely and that companies' profits would continue to increase. In accordance with this belief, investors speculated which company's stock would rise and then bought large quantities of that stock. Then they turned around and sold the stock for a higher price, making a quick, easy profit. The investors who bought the stock at the higher price would in turn sell it to other investors for an even higher price. In this way, the value of many companies' stocks became artificially inflated and bore little correlation to the company's actual worth. There's another video in this series that explains how the stock market works. I encourage you to take a break, watch that video, and then come back to this one. Moving on. Some crooked investors intentionally inflated the value of a company's stock in order to make a quick profit. First, these investors would pool together other investors' money, and they would buy a large quantity of company stock at a cheap rate. Investors outside the investment pool would note the buying frenzy and would think to themselves that the company must be highly profitable. That's why so many stocks are selling so quickly. And so they too would start to buy up the company's stock. When the company's stock prices peaked, the investment pool, who started the whole thing, would quickly sell their investors' stock for a much higher price than the original cost. Ultimately, the value of the stock would plummet when that main operator pulled out. Outside investors would then discover that the company was not as profitable as they had speculated, and that their stock was worth far less than what they had paid for it. As rampant stock speculation drove prices higher and higher, some economic analysts and investors predicted that the market was headed for a fall. They warned that stock prices could not continue to rise at such an inflated rate, and that the prices were far exceeding most stocks' actual worth. As evidence, analysts pointed out that many companies simply did not possess enough assets or generate enough profit to justify the high price of their stocks. Even Herbert Hoover, who assumed the presidency in early 1929, warned investors to curb their speculation. And he began to sell some of his own stocks in the fear that, quote, possible hard times are coming. That's it for this episode.